Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books, mostly horror books in this channel, and I'm here to let you know everything that I read in the month of July.
It's coffee time.
So the month of July, I feel like going to Youre has given me a push when it comes to reading, because when you go to a book event, you basically want to read all the things. When you go book shopping and meet authors, get pitched books, you get home and you just want to read everything, and I feel like that has really given me that little motivation that I was missing to read. And to be honest, this has been my best month, I think, since I moved because I read a total of 10 things and most of them were full novels. Some of them are chunkier books, so I feel like I did pretty well in the month of July, and I am back on track with my Goodreads challenge, which is something that I'm also really happy about. And in August I'm gonna be on holiday, so hopefully I'll be able as well to read a lot while I'm on holidays, fingers crossed. And today I'm here to tell you exactly the things that I read in July. If you're new here, we like to rate our books with coffee mugs because, you know, it's just as an honor to my coffee addiction. And also I start with the lowest rating to the highest, so we always end up in a positive note. Now I gotta warn you, there are some disappointments this month, so get ready for the tea. Someone wanted to crash my video, so say hi to Morbius. Hey honey, say hi. Excuse you. It's over there, the peoples. Why are you so cute? Oh. Alright, so let's start. So sadly, and after I read Dear Laura by Gemma Amor, I love that one so much. It was such a good novella that I decided to pick up something else by her because it was available on Kindle Unlimited, and that is 6 Rooms. And when I went into it, honestly, I didn't even know what the book was about and I had no expectations, but I kind of expected to love it in a way because I had really enjoyed Dear Laura, and I can see why a lot of people would love the story, but it was just not for me. The concept is great and I thought I would love it, but sadly no. And this is about a group of strangers that are going to visit a mansion, and they're going on a guided tour, tourists on holidays. So they go to this mansion, they knock on the door, and the guy that makes the tour opens up, and this is a really weird guy. He's saying weird things, he's treating the guests kind of weird, he's being kind of rude, so nobody really knows what's up with this guy. And what I really liked about this book is that you go room to room and you kind of get to explore the rooms, and you get a lot more history about the place and what happened there years ago, dark things that happened inside those walls, and you get to know characters from the past, as well as you get to know a little bit more about the tour guide. And I think my biggest problem was the pacing in this book, because it just took so long for things to get really interesting that I think by the time it kind of picked up, I was already done and I had lost my interest. So I feel like that was my biggest issue, because if I think about the story and about the concept, I really love it, and there's also nothing wrong with the writing. I also really enjoyed it. I feel like the pacing just didn't work for me at all. I'm still gonna try other things by the author. I actually got approved for an arc of something that's coming up next by Gemma Amor, so I'm gonna be reading that one because I do like the concept she has for her books, and I did enjoy Dear Laura a lot, so I'm still gonna give her another chance. This one probably just was not the book for me. I feel like this one would be perfect for people that don't mind a really slow burn book where nothing much really happens. It's also not really scary, and like I said, it's an interesting story about the mansion and what happened there, but it was a little bit too uneventful for me. Now let's talk about a book that I am a little bit conflicted about and that is Youngblood by Sacha Lawrence. And I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun and fast-paced, entertaining. This is a YA paranormal book in which the concept of vampires is a little bit different from other books, so that is why I really wanted to pick this one up. Plus, not gonna lie, this cover really sold it to me. And it has queer representation, so you know, I thought it would be great. And I really like the characters of Kat and Taylor, and I did enjoy their romance. Our main character, Kat, has been accepted into these very kind of elite school for vampire kids, and normally only people that have money can go there, but she got a grant so she could go, she could attend. Somebody, you know, is paying for her tuition and things like that, so she's really grateful to be there, and she thinks, you know, that's gonna be the best time of her life. But when she gets to the school, she realizes that things are not as good as they seem, and she starts to feel a little bit out of place in this school. Now, what I really liked about the book was also, like I said, the concept of vampires here, because we live in a world in which human blood has been infected with a virus that is poisonous to vampires. So it doesn't really kill the humans or anything like that. It just means that vampires can no longer drink their blood. And so vampires are struggling until a company comes up with a substitute for blood called Hema. And that is what intrigued me, because I wanted to know more about that, which we do. However, the book had a lot of problems that I was unable to unsee, and that is why I have taken down a couple of points. I feel like this might have been a 4.5 for me if it wasn't for those things, but they are there and I need to warn you guys about it. So you're gonna find a little bit of comments that are homophobic, racist, and these are things that it has been justified as some of the characters, some of the vampires that are here are really old vampires that have been alive for 200, 300 years. And so the perspective of the world is a little bit different than the younger generations. So we have those older vampires that can be a little bit homophobic and racist, but does that justify it? I don't know. You know, it's really conflictive, and our main character might be what people call a little bit too woke. And there were a lot of comments that, you know, I couldn't care about. There's a problematic comment about colonized India and the women there that were basically kidnapped for marriage, things like that. And there is also something in this book that I would like to mention, which is a Chinese character that is really stereotyped and is only used for kind of a plot device. Like, there's a lot of things going on in the book, so I just wanted to mention it so everybody, you know, is aware of those things. I really enjoyed it, the story and the characters, but I can also see all the problematic elements that the book has. So, you know, just putting it out there in case you want to check out the book so you are not confronted with these things and then, you know, come back at me because I didn't mention that. And moving on with another YA book. I read a lot of YA in the month of July. I guess it is what happens when you go to Yelp. You have this thirst for YA books. So I read Youre Dead by Catherine Foxfield, and this is her newest book. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it does what a YA horror thriller is supposed to do. It gives you some twists and turns. It has some kills. It has some surprises. It gets bloody at times. So this is a book in which they are trying a new kind of VR game, and they are in the middle of London. They are all wearing these VR glasses, and they are all basically trying to win the prize, which is being able to meet and work with the creator of this new technology that everybody knows. You know, it's a very big name in social media. So our main characters are the players of the game, and you're going to see the book, the story told from the point of view of the different characters. So it is a multiple point of view story, and when our characters start to play the game, they are soon going to realize that the game is a lot more dangerous than they bargained for. And what I really liked about this book is that, like I said, it has a lot of twists and turns. You're kind of always guessing, and more than a horror, I would consider this a thriller, kind of a whodunit story, because there are some murders that happen and we don't really know who is killing people until the very end. So it's a book, again, that's going to keep you guessing. So I feel like this is going to be perfect for people that love thrillers, and this is really action-packed. It is fast-paced, so it has been my very first Catherine Foxfield book, and I'm definitely gonna read more by her. And yes, you have guessed it, I have another YA book, and I have Savage Island by Briony Pierce, and this is for people that are looking for a gorier experience, perfect for summer. And this is, I believe, more adult than YA, so you know, keep that in mind because it gets quite gruesome and disturbing, and that's basically what I loved about the book. And again, this is also about a game that is being played, in this case for Cash Monday. So we have 5 friends that decide to participate in this contest that a millionaire is hosting in his private island. So a bunch of teams are, you know, allowed in the island, and they have to play a game. They have to solve some clues, and only the team that ends first place is gonna get the reward. And as you can imagine, our group of friends that decide to team up to go to this island start playing the game and realize that nobody's there to assist them if something goes wrong. They are basically left alone. They don't really know what they're doing, and the kind of like clues, the kind of things they have to solve, I don't want to give you, you know, too many spoilers about that part because I feel like that's the fun part of the book. They start to get more and more disturbing, the things that they have to solve and do, and it comes to a point where the team doesn't know what to do anymore. And I really enjoyed it. This one, like I said, it's gonna be perfect for summer, but it is quite descriptive, gory and gruesome, so not for people that don't like their horror like that. So some of my favorite things about this book was the location. I really love to explore the island, and of course the kind of clues, riddles, things that they had to solve. Those were my favorite parts because they were kind of like the most gruesome ones. And my least favorite thing, so to say, was a lot of flashbacks from a specific character that we got. I could not really care so much about that story because I was too invested in the island and the game and stuff. And I also would have loved to see more from the other teams, from the other players. We don't really get to see much of, and I wish I would have seen more of them. Now let's go to full-on adult, disturbing, messed up, gory, horror, really gruesome. We have Kin by Kaylin Patrick Burke. So this book was recommended to me because I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I have to say this is for people that love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also, I feel like if you like movies like Wrong Turn or The Hills Have Eyes, this is a book that probably you're going to enjoy. Now, I feel like this is exactly what would have happened if, you know, we would have written a novel after the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, the first one, because we have here a girl that survives an attack by kind of psycho hillbillies, and she manages to escape. But even though she escaped, she realizes that she has to go back to Elwood, Alabama to finish things if she wants things to be over for good and stop being scared. Now we're following a bunch of different characters. We follow the family of hillbillies, we follow the survivor girl, we follow people from town, things like that. So I like to see things from different perspectives. I feel like that brought a lot of meat to the story. Now, my least favorite thing about the book is that it drags a lot in places, and there were moments where I was struggling to read fast because it was just dragging. So I feel like the pacing could have been done a little bit better or edited down a little bit, because I think that Kaylin Patrick Burke mostly writes novellas, and this is a novel. I think it's nearly 300 pages. I just feel like it was maybe a little bit too long for its own good. But in general, I really enjoyed to hear the story about this family specifically, because I feel like those disturbing families are the funnest part. And I think that if you love movies like Texas Chainsaw and stuff like that, and you like really messed up hillbilly families, you're probably gonna enjoy this one. But keep in mind that this one is really graphic and really disturbing. Now let's talk about something completely different, and this is a book that I've been meaning to read since it came out, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So as you guys know, I tend to enjoy V.E. Schwab's books. My favorite one so far has been Vicious, and I really wanted to read this one because I thought the story was going to be really interesting, which it was. In this story we follow Addie, and she is at some point so desperate that she ends up making a deal with a god, and that deal grants her basically immortal life, but it comes with certain disadvantages as well that we will get to know throughout the book. I really loved to hear about Addie, especially to hear her story and the decision that she made before taking this deal. Then I love to see her through time, visiting different cities, having different experiences, and I feel like the concept of this book is amazing, and I really love that. However, what I disliked a little bit about it is that at times it was just way too slow and way too dragging for me, and it made the story a little bit less enjoyable for me. This is a really chunky book. I believe it's 500 pages or more, so I feel like this one as well could have been edited down a little bit. I feel like probably the author wanted us to really experience everything from Addie's perspective and, you know, be mindful about where we are, the room, the place, everything, but maybe it was a little bit too much. I like that we are here, you know, talking about things like what would you do if you could live forever? What would you do if your life maybe would not have a meaning so much anymore if everybody you love is dead? Or do you even like live and exist if you're invisible in the world? It's just like, I really like all the concept and the idea that Bishop had behind this book, and I feel like that's why I ended up enjoying it while other people didn't. But this has not been my favorite by her, even though I really like the concept, like I said. But the writing was still really good. I really like Bishop's writing style, which is always so like poetic to me in a way. So yeah, even though I didn't love it, I still enjoyed it. Moving on with a contemporary book, and we have The Places I've Cried in Public by Holly Byrne. I've always wanted to read this book. The title always called me and I've always wanted to read it because I knew that it dealt with grief, and I really like to read about that. And in this specific story, I was at times frustrated with our main character and the decisions that she made, because I could see myself going through some of these similar things when I did have a toxic relationship in the past. So I feel like it's going to hit especially for people that have had toxic relationships in their past. You're going to be able to relate so much more. I feel like if you had not had that experience, you might get really mad and frustrated at the character and not understand it. For me, even though I got frustrated with the main character, I understood why she was doing it because I've been there. So Amelie, our main character, has to move with her family and ends up leaving her friends and boyfriend behind. And now in her new school, she meets Reese, which is this beautiful guy that is a musician, and she loves also music and singing. And so they kind of start this relationship that is obviously really toxic, but our main character is not gonna realize that until it is way too late. So this book has some trigger warnings that I'm gonna leave down below for you guys so that you're aware of them when you go into it. And it is also told from the present, where Amelie is going through the different places that have a meaning for her because something happened there and she's crying, as the title implies. And also the story is told through the flashbacks. So when she goes to certain places, we get the backstory on why that place is important to her, and why it was important for her to revisit that. So it's kind of her processing her grief, her trauma, and her loss through all of these different places, and I really enjoyed that. I loved her voice more in the present than the flashbacks, because the flashbacks were basically with the ex-boyfriend that are really frustrating. But if you love stories about grief and relationships, and you are not too triggered by toxic relationships, then this one is a must read. And now we have a book that is kind of a unicorn for me, and let me explain. That is A Perfectly Preventable Deaths by Deidre Sullivan. And I say that because this is a very slow burn book that also has not a lot of action and not many really things happen in the book, but I still loved it. That tends not to be the case with me. If something is really too slow, nothing much happens, I tend to be a little bit disconnected from the book. However, the way this book was written, it was so beautiful. I loved every single chapter, and every chapter starts with, you know, the name of a herb or something that it's used for medicine and other purposes like witchcraft, and I love that so much. Also, the two sisters in the book, our main characters, were just so well fleshed out. They felt so real that I was so in love with them, especially Maddie. I really could relate to her and I just wanted to give her a hug. And I really loved her as a character, which I feel like that is what really got me so engaged with the story. So Maddie and Kathleen are teenage tweens, and the bad news is that they are moving because their mom has a new husband, and the good news is that they're moving to this guy's castle, which is like a huge place and it's beautiful, and they are excited about that. However, they're also the new kids in town, which makes things sometimes a little bit complicated. And also in this castle there is another character that lives there called Mamo, and this character was one of my favorites as well because she's like an old lady that nobody really knows why she's there, what she does. She seems to help people with herbs and some sort of rituals, and Maddie is gonna start a relationship with her as well and talk about herbs and things like that. And I don't know, this story just felt so kind of realistic take on witches, a more kind of down-to-earth one, and it is very slow like I said, but it was written so beautifully that I'm really excited for book 2. And now something completely different again. We have Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. I picked this one up at Yelk and I really wanted to read it because this one is written in verse and I had not read a novel written in verse in a long time, and this is such a beautiful coming-of-age story. And also our main character is trying to come to terms not just with his sexuality but also with his background and his family. You're gonna go here with him through this journey, his ups, his lows. You're gonna get introduced to members of his family, to new friends that he's gonna make, and it's just such a powerful story. I definitely recommend you guys to pick this one up. It's a beautiful story about a guy that against all odds manages to find happiness, and the happiness defined by him, and he finds his own family defined by him. And I look how the book is split up in different chapters that are related to something different, to a different topic of his life, so that you really focus to the different topics in each chapter. And yeah, like I said, it's a really beautiful story. It's also gonna break your heart a little bit, but I definitely recommend you guys to check this one out. At the end, he will learn that you don't have to fit a certain box, you don't have to be a certain way, you can just be yourself, and that is just so beautiful. So if you're looking for an amazing queer story with grief but also with happiness, definitely one that you should pick up. Next we have a classic, a point horror book. We have The Lifeguard by Richie Tankersley Cusick, and this one I read for the Point Horror Book Club. I will leave them linked down below because every month they read a different point horror book, and it's a lot of fun to read it with them, and they always make a live on Instagram, so you can discuss the book with them. So if you're interested, I'm gonna leave the links down below. So this one was actually a lot of fun. It has been one of my favorite point horrors that I have read, and I feel like it is because this was such a well done whodunit story. The story follows Kelsey, and when she gets to this island to spend summer holidays with her parents, basically Beth, the girl she's supposed to hang out with, it's already missing and they don't know what happened to her. But allegedly in this place, girls have been drowning and nobody really knows if all of these deaths are connected. And what I liked about the book is that it really kept me guessing. I put some notes, you know, like, oh, maybe it's this guy, or maybe they're pointing too much to this one. And I really like that they had that thriller whodunit aspect really well executed, and it is not until the very end that you already kind of smell who's gonna be the killer. So this is gonna be perfect again for the summer, and if you're looking for a whodunit story. And last but definitely not least is my favorite read from July 2022, and that is Solitaire by Alice Osman. Now, when I got this book, I knew that I had to read it as soon as possible because this book is based on Tori, and Tori is Charlie's older sister, so it is based around the universe of Heartstopper. Now, this novel is not on the same tone as Heartstopper. This is not really heartwarming. and happy. This is quite sad and it is quite devastating, but I really wanted to know more from Tori's life, and I wanted to get to know her better because from the, you know, Heartstopper comics and from the show, I could really relate to her. And now that I have read the novel, I understand why I can relate to her a lot. And I feel like a lot of people don't enjoy Solitaire because they are expecting this fluffy, cutesy, uplifting story like Heartstopper is, and this is not that. So don't go into it if you're looking for more Heartstopper feel-good moments. For this one, I would also recommend you to check the trigger warnings. The newer editions of the book have the trigger warnings at the beginning, which I really appreciated. They are inside of an author's note. And I feel like, you know, in this book, I was able to see myself. I was confronted with things that I have done to myself in the past, or things that I have thought about me in the past. And I feel like Tori, same as I've always done, basically is her own enemy. She stands on her own way for a lot of things, and I feel like she is not sure how she can achieve happiness, and she is really locked inside of her head, and that's something that I've struggled with myself. I always feel like I'm my worst enemy, and I'm always blocking myself from opportunities, from things that I would like to experience or to do. And I'm always so negative about myself and the things that I can do that I always block all of those things. And I could see myself in Tori so much that it was scary at times. Basically, I sabotage my own happiness a lot. And sometimes I cannot control it even though I know I'm doing it. And I feel like that's why I love this book so much, and I love Tori, even though it was kind of like looking at myself in the mirror sometimes. But that's why I ended up loving her story so much, and I'm so happy that, you know, her story is out there and other people like me can see themselves in Tori. In this story, you're going to see Tori go to school. She's going to make new friends. She's going to be basically forced sometimes to go outside of her comfort zone, which is going to stress her out a little bit at times. But I really love to see her going through all of that and kind of reevaluating who are her real friends or who she wants as her friends, because I feel like that's something she never really thought about. This is a book that I'm definitely going to reread, and I'm going probably to take notes and things like that. This is my reading copy now. I have another copy signed by Alice Oseman that is now basically in the Alice Oseman shelf, dedicated shelf. And this is going to be my reading copy that I'm definitely going to reread a couple of times. Alright guys, so I counted again and I actually read 11 things in the month of July. That is fantastic. That is basically what I used to read before moving to this house and not having time at all to read. So I am extremely happy and excited that I seem to be back on track with my reading. Couple disappointments this month. Honestly, I hoped to love Ken and Addie LaRue a lot more than I did, so those were kind of a letdown for me, a little bit, a smidgen. So yeah, let me know what you guys read in the month of July. What has been your favorite book that you read in July, or a book that you recently read that really disappointed you? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye.